Hey guys, so funny story before we start, but I'm doing this review for the second time because apparently the first time I had no fucking audio when I recorded it. So, right out of the gate, the episode starts with the Boz brothers basically thanking Chaco and Yo's group as a whole for saving them before recounting how they met Hal. Once, which I feel is important, which is good for the sake of once again reinforcing the nature of just how dangerous how as an individual is, how much of a world threatening presence he is in the story, and just what we're up against. But in a lot of ways, I think that was more. But in the case of this episode, I feel it this time around. I think it was more meant for Yo personally than anyone else. Just to show that, just to show us that Yo is kind of realizing more and more that how is the kind of danger to the world where even though he won't say it out loud, Yo is reaching a point where he can't afford to keep doing things as he has been. But in contrast to that, when Yo also sees firsthand the methods of Lyserg, the X-Laws, and Iron Maiden Jeanne in this episode, he's still very much afraid that whatever path he takes, he'll end up losing himself. And I think that is kind of a distinction, because right now, again, Yo is starting to recognize what needs to be done in order to defeat Hal and save the world, and that his idealistic methods aren't going to work as much as they have before. But at the same time, he wants to find his own answer. He wants to do things. He still wants to do things his own in the way he believes he can save the world, and one then that doesn't resort to extreme methods either. And I think that is kind of in its own way a key part to remember in all this. That yes, he he just wants to do things his own way. He doesn't want to be influenced by the X-Laws. He doesn't want to join How. He just wants to save the world because of what he believes in preserving a peaceful, because of what he believes. With that said, let's talk about Lyserg, because this is one of those episodes that makes me remember my time of reading the manga and how frustrating Lyserg is as a character in it, and but even more so than that, his journey of revenge. Because this episode offered so, because the frustrating thing is this episode offered so much in terms of showing Lyserg's emotional conflict in right now, and where he is right now, and just how far, and not only just how far he's willing to go in order to achieve his revenge, but in terms of the through line in which the author took to get him from point A to point B with the redemption of the character, is in itself very frustrating, because it seems like Lyserg's willingness to be consumed by his hatred and the creed of the X-Laws to achieve his revenge, only to have his guardian ghost like Morphia ultimately abandon him. Those are all amazing scenes, but where things get frustrating is when the X-Laws themselves, when Lyserg gets so easily lured back from that emotional conflict into just this I must destroy I will get my revenge. I will destroy everyone and everything in my path to achieve it. That's at the point where I'm forced to hate him again, because honestly, it feels like the X-Laws are in some ways intrusive to Lyserg's journey and development rather than actually moving it forward. In fact, even though they both serve the same purpose, the original anime, I felt in some ways was able to utilize the X-Laws a little bit better in this regard. Like, I don't know, the X-Laws just don't feel needed for Lyserg's journey, other than to extend the path of his revenge a little longer. And I know people are going to go in the comments and say what exactly purpose the X-Laws serve for Lyserg's journey, but it's like, I can never understand what it is that was necessary. I can never understand even what was necessary about them. Like, I think Lyserg's journey, honestly, was pretty good on its own, honestly. Now, Obviously, on the flip side to that, we also get introduced to the real Iron Maiden Jeanne in this episode. And I'll be honest, she left a better first impression with how she was introduced in the manga more than the anime. But on the flip side to that, I loved her brutal display of power just as equally here as in the manga. Like her killing the Team Egypt people was fucking brutal. And that's actually another thing about this episode. Holy shit, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just they had a bigger budget. Maybe they just kind of maybe they just decided to cut loose more. But the amount of gore and blood in this episode was fucking insane. And this is kind of the shit I was waiting for from previous. I was wanting to see from like the battle with Boris and all that, but I didn't get it. So it's like, good on you, Studio Bridge. You actually kind of upped the ante with this episode. But yeah, just seeing Jean's like brutal killing of them it made you realize instantly she is not someone to fuck with. Of course, with her introduction, we also get more insight into her as a character, her ideology, and her views and all that. And it's fair to say that Jean's whole ideology is misguided, to say the least. But the thing is, underneath that, you can see someone who kind of has similar views to Yo in the sense where she does genuinely want to see a world of peace, but the problem is her teachings and creation of the X laws are completely counterproductive to that idea of peace, and and even more so, they border upon fanatical, which I guess to the X laws' credit makes them just as dangerous, if not more so, than How, who even says so himself that his group and the X-Laws are basically two sides of the same evil. Even though the X-Laws have resolved themselves to fight How and his men, it's like they're basically doing the exact same shit. So it's like it's just two hypocritical groups fighting each other. In fact, while the whole idea of the X-Laws might be somewhat exaggerated, there's kind of a scary comparison to the real world with religious cults and zealots. That you could draw with the X-Laws. Like a lot of what the X-Laws are, we pretty much see people. We've seen people like that on the street, and some who even have more power than what they should have. But like it's a thing where we've seen people like that, and that in itself, I think, is what makes them somewhat scary. Honestly, is that we've seen who these people are, what they're like, and yeah, it's kind of scary overall. Honestly, like it's scary in animation, but see, we've seen these people, we know these people, maybe even we know these people, but yeah, it's like these people exist and they're out there. And yeah, let's talk about the pacing in this episode, because the interesting thing here is that the episode cut out certain reaction shots and conversation moments, which in itself works as it gives a lot more personal focus to Lyserg this episode. But at the same time, it also leads to this very weird tightrope I'm walking, where I feel you still need scenes like that. Like, I understand why they did it in this episode, and with the amount of chapters we did adapt, I also feel a lot better in terms of the anime's ability to adapt the manga now. But I just hope they're careful about what they cut out from here, because we are reaching a point where dialogue is kind of an important factor for the progression of the story. But like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, handle is Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dead and that of me, signing off. Later, everyone.